Josh, I know, are a viewer of the program. You will remember watching. We were very critical of the Biden administration's weaponizing of the DOJ over the past 4 years. Shoes on the other foot now. Our parents all told us 2 wrongs do not make a right. Why is what Donald Trump is doing somehow okay and what Joe Biden did not?
Well, Leland, look, I mean, this is happening. Let's just contextualize a little bit here. This is happening in Washington, D.C., which is one of the nation's foremost so-called sanctuary cities. So it does make sense to, I think, disproportionately focus some ICE raids in a jurisdiction like Washington, D.C., like Chicago.
Come on, Josh. Josh, really? You think it's a coincidence that these are the restaurants that they went after? No,
I'm probably not. I'm not going to say that it is, Leland. Probably not. What I am going to say to you, I'm going to be very blunt and honest with you. I don't actually care, because the goalposts have been shifted so far that whether or not this was an accident or not, it genuinely does not make a big difference to me. You know, look, it's kind of old hat to talk about the Biden administration when it comes to prosecuting Donald Trump out there. Let's not forget that the Obama administration sued Catholic nuns to force them to pay for abortifacients. I mean, this politicization of the nation's law enforcement apparatus actually goes way back prior to the Biden administration. We're unfortunately living in different times these days. Yeah. And whether or not this happened, I mean, it kind of just is what it is at this point, honestly.
Yeah, Bill O'Reilly always makes fun of me for sort of wanting to go back to quaint in different times. Jose, for Democrats who are angry about this, is it time for them to acknowledge, if they want people to be upset about what Donald Trump is doing, is it time for Democrats to acknowledge they went too far under the Biden administration? I
think they're much different circumstances. When we talk about Mar-a-Lago and the raid, for example, right? That was something that Democrats did when they had the chance to do so. There were documents that actually got stolen from government entities, and they took them to a private home.
Tish James was making stuff up.
Over 60 documents. I mean, these are pages and pages.
Tish James was making up a fraud claim where nobody lost money. You had an attorney general of a state running on the sole purpose of getting Donald Trump. You can't tell me that this is...
That's one instance. That's one instance, and I agree with you. Look, the DOJ has been around since 1870, over 150 years. Its sole mission should be to serve the interests, the legal interests of the United States of America. No political party, Democrat or Republican, should go against that. So it is very concerning to me that we have a president who, he said it, he wants to go after his political enemies. I don't want our country to end up like Venezuela, when they're locking up political prisoners because you don't agree with them.
I guess I go back to, that's exactly what Joe Biden did. You used the DOJ to go after political enemies. His political enemies. There was vast double standards. Don't Democrats need to say, hey, maybe we made a mistake, we need to pull back, and then they would have some credibility to go after Donald Trump?
You know, I gotta say, part of what you're trying to say here is to be careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah.
I do agree there were some instances that maybe they did that. I think there were some of them that like the Mar-a-Lago case, for example, that there were legitimate evidence that the president had the documents, and he did.
Okay.
But I do agree with you. I think we ought to go back to the American people want to be protected. They want to make sure that their government agencies are...
Josh, when does this end?
Leland, I think it ends at mutually assured destruction, frankly. I mean, I was listening to you talking about that earlier in the show with John Bolton. I mean, frankly, it's going to take a short-term escalation to reach a mid to long-term stasis or equilibrium there. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, I'm a lawyer by training. I am a lawyer. I clerked on a federal court of appeals there. I'm a rule of law constitutional guy there. But we are so far down the rabbit hole at this point of various stripes of politicized law enforcement. It's gonna have to take some punching back there, some bloodying up some noses, proverbially speaking, obviously not literally, but it's going to take some genuine punching back, I think, in order for the other side to get the message there. What the Democrats did in prosecuting Donald Trump and sending people like Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro to prison, the pro-life protesters throwing the grannies, the J6ers, I mean, there's too many examples to count there. I mean, this has to end.
Josh, that's what you guys are doing now.
I'm not saying that the ICE raids here are necessarily going to end it. To me, this is not the same thing there. It's actually much significantly lower than what the Democrats did to Donald Trump over the past few years there. But this, I think, is the beginning. Ideally, it is the beginning of trying to get us to something remotely resembling a let's take a cool pill, guys. Let me take a chill pill. Let's cool here.
I've yet to see when the escalation leads to that, but Jose.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.